Very good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's been joining in.
Yes, ma'am. All the best for your workshop.
Thank you.
Good evening, ma'am. Good luck.
Thank you. And good evening. And we shall just wait in case a couple of people may want to join in, though a lot of
Good
you
evening.
have joined in. Good evening, ma'am. A lot of people have joined in, and I'm very happy about it. I'll just wait a minute more and begin, knowing very well that not many people would be interested in my subject, so they may choose not to join in. But welcome to everyone across departments. It's such an honor to have you all here. And of course, let's begin with a short prayer. And please allow me to share my screen. And we shall pray together. Kindly join me for the prayer.
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति
Thank you very much for joining me in the prayer. And it's indeed my pleasure to host all of you wonderful educators who've taken some time off to come in for this training today. And yes, we are almost 41 people right now. And let me begin by thanking Dr. Mrs. Veena Srivastav, our campus head, and Principal Mrs. Madhu Vatke for assigning me this wonderful topic to conduct the second in-house training for educators at Gopi Birla Memorial School, Mumbai. And this being a subject-specific training would fall under Domain 2, Knowledge and Practice. Our topic for today being competency-based questions and how to make efficient case study questions for students, particularly in social science. So let us not spend any more time and let us begin on this beautiful note. I think now my screen is visible to all. And so will I be visible to you. Okay, it's gone on full screen mode. Great. At any point in time you wish to ask me a question, like every other time, you're welcome. The floor is open. You may raise your virtual hand and obviously ask your questions. I would be happy to answer them so long as I know the answers. And more than that, I would love to hear from you and try and make the session interactive. Even if this may not be your domain specific subject, I would love to hear from you because there is always something that I can carry back into my subject, learning from all of you. So, welcoming each and every one of you one more time. Let's begin. I would once more time request you to have a notepad and pen handy. There may be certain tips that you may want to take down for your own classrooms. Otherwise, I have planned 1 or 2 activities for you to do. So even if you're on the way home or something, mobile would be of use when we are doing the activity. So try and keep a notepad and a pen handy. There are things that you can note down for your classroom situations and for your own subjects as well. So the objective of today's training is building capacity to design and use effective case studies to enhance learning outcomes in social science. So in this particular training today, we're going to try and understand the concept and purpose of case studies and the characteristics of good case studies. We'll explore certain strategies of for sourcing quality case studies. And yes, with a couple of activities, not many, because this is not a very offline training, it's absolutely online. So we'll practice creating and evaluating a couple of case studies, which you will create. Coming to what is a case study. So these are basically structured tasks. They're presenting information in paragraphs or graphic organizers or tables, charts, images, etc. They are designed to analyze real-world situations and they apply theoretical concepts. They build critical thinking and problem-solving skills in the students. Right? This also has a very deep meaning. When you make a case, you are not expecting students to copy-paste answers from the case. You're expecting them to analyze real-world situations and apply theoretical knowledge. This does not mean that the case has to be lifted from the textbook. Even you can create your own case. And a case study forms the basis for tasks or questions in assessment to promote higher order thinking. So if you read point 2 and 3, you are very clear that a case study is not meant for lifting answers. However, when you see at a board level, most of us know that case studies are also paragraphs lifted from the textbooks. And there will be a question here and there, which is a direct copy-paste of the passage. Now, in such cases, there is a reason why CBSE has to do that. CBSE is very clearly telling us that students across the globe, not only in India, but 26 foreign countries, have to be at par at the same level at grade 10. And through the process of evaluation, through the process of networking, through our interactions with educators across the nation and the globe, what we realize is that, first of all, the species of social science teachers is endangered and rare. We are only in 2 categories. We are rare to find and we are endangered. So we need to be protected. That's the most important thing. The second important thing we find is, since we are rare and endangered, we are difficult to find. If you lose a good social science teacher, rest assured the future of your students in any educational institution is at stake. A good social science teacher is very, very difficult to find. So the role that a social science teacher plays is very, very important. And as teachers, as faculty of the Department of Social Science, it is our moral duty to make our children competent enough to deal with the world outside the classroom. And if you've seen the bridge courses of the middle school in particular, They have gone way beyond the classroom through experiential learning, and they have taken us to a different level. So in the next 2 years, what we can foresee is our curriculum also changing to a much higher level curriculum. Therefore, it is our duty now to take action. This is our bridge time to connect our students to the world outside and give them the exposure that is going to hold them in good stead outside. So let us see what we can do to help them out to the best of our abilities. So what is the need for a good case study? Number one, engagement. A well-chosen case draws students into real-world context. It will enhance their interest and interaction. So if you notice, when some of us go to class in the higher grades, we tell them, these are the government policies you should be following. These are certain other current affairs or events that you should be following. Sometimes I do happen to tell them that you must follow these advertisements of the government. Your paper will come from there. And that's a fact also, that there will be a question here and there coming from those government slot advertisements on television. Then the assessment has to be reliable. The quality of the case study ensures accurate evaluation of students' understanding and skill. So only when assessments are reliable will they actually give you a feedback on whether the students are understanding what you are trying to teach. And the third most important thing that case studies should be meeting are skill evaluation. The design of the case study determines how effectively critical thinking and analytical abilities are assessed. So like we did even at the multiple choice question time, before you set a question, ask yourselves, what do I want the students to know and what do I want the students to do? These are two main questions you should be asking. So case study has three important questions. Where should I source my case from? What do I want my students to be able to answer? That's the understanding. And what do I want them to do? The skill. Three questions here in case studies, two in MCQs. Let us take a look at the types of case studies. Now, since we all know that case studies have basically been based on text, there are text-based case studies as one of the multiple case studies available to us. You have factual passages, you have narratives, procedural descriptions, articles, historical excerpts, step-by-step instructions. Then you have visual-based case studies. These are infographics, posters, charts, maps, visually rich material like timelines, process diagrams, spatial representations, etc. Then you have data and graph-based case studies, which is numerical data sets, tables, graphical representations. These include graphs or bar graphs, pie charts, statistical data for analysis. And ultimately, you have the fourth category of case studies, which are scenario-based case studies. These could be real-life situations, they could be hypothetical situations, certain situations which require application of concepts. And these types help to diversify assessment patterns and cater to various learning styles and skills. So I hope you have been with me till here. If I'm going fast, do let me know. If I'm too slow and boring you also, do let me know. Okay, now let us look at some of the examples. So there is a factual article here, a passage that may be a part of a research paper, a news report, or a descriptive text providing actual and factual information. And here you can see, this is a case study, the plight of small farmers in India. Now, when you go to see, this case study can be used in economics grade 9, where you have Palampur, where we talk about farming and methods of farming. This can be used in food security, where we talk about farmers. This can be now used in grade 10 geography, agriculture, where again we are talking about farmers. This can be taken to grade 10 economics, where we are talking about small farmers. We are talking about public facilities. We are talking about employment generation in rural areas and urban areas. So there are so many ways, so many chapters where you can connect the same passage. And what is the case talking about? You can read the case for yourself also, or if anyone is volunteering to read the case, I'd be more than happy. Would someone want to volunteer to read the case? You may raise your virtual hand. Nobody is volunteering. Okay, then you can read in your own mind. I don't mind that either. मन से पढ़िए. See, when you read through the passage, you will find many more concepts which are connecting. See, I'll show you when I annotate here, I'll show you these concepts which are very, very well connecting to the main concept, okay? See, they talk about small farms here, less than 2 hectares, village of Palampur. Okay. Then generate income above subsistence level, poverty as a challenge. Then they talk to minimum agricultural wages, problems of farmers that we talk across chapters in economics. Then you look at this. Enhance the quality of life. This will go under development goals under economics chapter 1 development. Quality of life. You go to GDP, you go to health, you go to HDI. Then inadequate access to basic amenities, which will go to poverty as a challenge. And when you talk about the amenities, public facilities provided by the government, water, electricity, sanitary living conditions, etc. Educational opportunities, creating employment. So you go to unemployment in grade 9 and 10, both. Housing, again, poverty as a challenge. Then you go down, marginalized communities. You go to a socio-economic problem, political science. When you go to boys and girls, difference in developmental goals as well as gender equity. You have connected political science, gender, religion, and caste. Then deprivation in terms of basic amenities, poverty. And the most important thing we are talking about is rural India. We are in this one, we are not talking about urbanization because we are talking about small farmers. So agriculture is your main base. Where have I sourced this passage from? Foundation of Agrarian Studies. Right? Now you're clear how many concepts have we taken into one single case. And grade 9 and 10, where are they linked? This is also a very good interdisciplinary passage because you can see geography and eco, grade 9 and 10, across chapters being linked. And then there are certain chapters of grade 10 political science also which are linked here. So this makes a case study very, very valuable when you are able to show linkages. This is not a textual passage. It is sourced from agrarian studies. And look at the questions that come down. Small farmers in India face multiple challenges beyond low income. Based on the passage, how do social and infrastructural factors further worsen their condition? First, you need to know the social and infrastructural factors that are there in the rural areas. Then you read the passage, you understand what they have, what they don't have, what are the factors that are going to worsen their condition. So when you're able to, when a student, not we as adults, but when a student is able to do this, and when the connect is created by the teacher, a case study becomes a very, very good, exceptional case study. And that is one main reason why when framing case studies at the school level, we as teachers have to be very, very careful. We have the liberty given by the CBSE to help our children do better in life. We have the privileged students with us. We don't have students who don't have a teacher. So let us give them and guide them with the best possible knowledge that we can. Then there's another important case study here, a primary historical source, which has been derived from original documentation or historical accounts that provide insights into events, practices, and perspectives from specific periods of history. So if you happen to teach grade 8, this is the right passage for you. They talk about East India Company's directors and officials. Okay, they talk about Western learning. They talk about Warren Hastings. They talk about David Hare, an English watchmaker in Calcutta who joined with Raja Ram Mohan Roy and founded the Hindu College. Then they speak about innovations that come in with the Calcutta Medical College, which was formed on European lines. Then they come to Christian missionaries, the era of Christian missionaries and the civilizing mission. Here you will see governor generals. You will definitely see schools and colleges being opened in the port cities, and appointments given to those who had received a Western education. Now this has been sourced. You must always mention the source. So you can see this has been sourced from George Allen Oger's Education in British India, the Phi Delta Kapan, Volume 8, Number 2, page 1 to 6. Now, if you were teaching in grade 8, history, you would already know that goods dispatch and Macaulay's minutes play an important role in education. So we have sourced a historical primary source, contextualized it to their level, and the questions below talk about how might the Woods Dispatch elate to start colleges like the Calcutta Medical College for the para, and how did the 1844 Governor General's order show the impact of Western education in India. First thing is the child or the student should know who was the Governor General in 1844. So if you're able to do this, you're winning battle after battle. And sourcing these case studies, trust me, is not a Herculean task. After you source the case studies, connecting it to your text, contextualizing it for students, and setting the right kind of questions is important. If you read the first question here, it is talking about how might. And if you remember our training on inquiry-based learning, we use that horizontal and vertical table with Bloom's taxonomy on one side, and these words like is, might, could, should on the other side, and we had to match these pair words and create inquiry-based questions. So these kind of sources are going to help you create those inquiry-based questions. Then I have an infographic here. When you look at the infographic, it is a graphical representation of data or information designed to simplify complex ideas and enhance visual learning. Now, this is the 2014-15 Union budget. So as of now, it is an old thing. Currently, it is an old thing. But at that point in time, it was current. Where the rupee comes from and where the rupee goes to. So if you go to see, this is your income, this is your expenditure. This goes down, this goes up. Where does the money come from? Where do we spend the money? And how is the budget planned? And then we have these shaded colors. So shown here is an infograph that provides details about income and expenditure of a rupee in the union budget. According to the infographic shown, 12% of the money in the budget is used for subsidies or financial aid, which is this, right? 12%. Which of the following is most likely to be an area in which subsidies are provided for social welfare? Can you see from the infographic an answer? Would anyone want to answer in the chat? I have given you 4 options also. Which of the following is most likely to be an area in which subsidies are provided for social welfare? Okay, you want me to keep the chat box open? Fastest finger first? All right. Let's play that. I've taken the chat box to one corner of the screen so I can see what you are writing. And Poonam Singh ma'am says it is agriculture. Ma'am, I have 4 choices provided here. Free fertilizers to farmers, new cars, land below market rate to set up manufacturing industries and provide railway tickets at half the price to people who frequently travel to distant places. Which socio welfare area? Anu ma'am says A. Poonam Singh ma'am says A. Poonam Keshwani ma'am says A. Wonderful. What about the others? We are 61 people, so at least 60 answers should come in. Sarita ma'am says A. Sarita Yadav ma'am, that is. Nishant sir says A. Rosina ma'am says A. Jenny ma'am says D. I like that. Vijal ma'am says A. Jenny ma'am, why do you say D? Okay, Sachita ma'am also says D. Jenny ma'am and Sachita ma'am, why do you all say D?
Ma'am,
Yes,
I
Jenny
feel
ma'am.
because you mentioned subsidies for social welfare. So I feel welfare should be for the most amount of people. So you've written railway ticket at half price, so it wouldn't link down only to farmers, whereas fertilizers would only cater to farmers. The railway tickets, I feel, would cater to a larger audience. Hence,
Same here, ma'am. Same. Providing railway tickets at half the price would be, I mean, like a subsidy to the
But
people.
it is to frequently distant travelers, frequent distant travelers. So it's not a subsidy according to Umesh sir. But I can see now a couple of answers coming to D. But I'll tell you why it is not a subsidy. Not everybody travels frequently. Even if you're traveling on duty, you will be traveling at some point in time. But considering that 60% of the country is agricultural based, if you give a free fertilizer to farmers, you are helping 60% of the population, which is quite unlike people traveling by train frequently to distant places. Therefore, A would be the correct answer. So kudos to every one of you who got the answer correct or even tried to answer. Better luck next time to those of you who are still trying to catch up on the training. There will be more opportunities. I will give you an opportunity to attempt more and more such things. But if we make it a little more interesting and interactive, both of us will suddenly like the training. Okay. So there is a visual poster here, as I can see, and it is designed, a visually designed presentation of information or data. Just a moment, I need to mute that. Just a moment. Sorry for that disruption. Mom's phone. Okay. So a visually designed presentation of information or data, often combining text and graphics to communicate key ideas effectively. So you can see this poster. It's published by the National League for Opposing Women's Suffrage. And it says, join after a hard day's work. Now what you're doing is, here you are seeing, one such example is given below, where printed by the National League for Opposing Women's Suffrage around 1910. And during the suffragette movement in England, suffragette is the voting right movement in England, women were fighting for the right to vote. Such posters were distributed by people who believed that opposed to women's suffrage. So even if you need me to speak in Hindi, please let me know. I can try to converse in Hindi as well. So please don't feel lost. We are a united family. We'll try and help each other in this. So which of the following scenarios is the poster projecting to its audience? My chat box is open. Please come back. Feel free in the chat to write to me in the chat. Which of the scenarios is the poster projecting to its audience? Women will become lazy and unmotivated if they vote. Women fighting for votes will feel tired even after achieving nothing all day. Household work will take priority over women's participation in political matters. And men will be forced to live in filthy houses while their wives ignore household chores. Yes, Delson ma'am seems to be wanting to say something.
No, ma'am, excuse me. My phone just tapped on a reaction.
Okay. No problem. So anyone wanting to write or say something, please feel free. Okay, Nishant sir says D. Men will be forced to live in filthy houses. Wonderful interpretation, sir. Come on, fastest finger. Only one finger is moving fast. What about the others?
E.
D. And
E.
B.
E.
Umesh sir says B. Zainab ma'am says B as well. Women fighting for votes will feel tired even after achieving nothing all day. Why do you say so, Umesh sir? Umesh sir, Zainab ma'am, Fatima ma'am all say B. And why do the others say D? Kumudni ma'am also says B. Yes, ma'am. You need to now give me reasons, because I see two answers coming in the chat. You may unmute if you like. This session will not be disturbed. Okay, Afreen ma'am says she's confused between two options. Why do so many of us say D and B?
B, I feel, is a distractor. It's not relevant to the topic.
You mean D is the distractor? Delhi is the distractor and Bombay is the correct answer, you feel?
Yeah, because when we try to go through all the options, the first one is it's like a straight away no, but then third one could be, but I think more is B, because it seems that there's this particular suffrage movement which we have discussed, where women were not given the rights to vote. So basically, वो इतना करके भी what they are going to get. ऐसा I am interpreting in that way. I don't know.
So you think that even after working so hard, they will get nothing? But don't we see the man standing there and saying, what will I get after a hard day's work when women go for the right to vote? And Swati ma'am thinks it's going to be C. Household work will take priority. Why so, ma'am?
Ma'am, can I say something? Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
Yes, yes, of course you can. Somebody who wanted to speak.
Yeah.
Please,
So,
yes, ma'am.
ma'am, if we consider D as the correct option, it definitely mentions about the man standing in the picture, but it doesn't have any mention of the tired woman who's lying on that table. Whereas if you look at the option C, it talks about the woman and about the household work, but it doesn't have any mention of the man. So, in my interpretation, both the options seem correct to me. That's what I feel.
Okay. How about the others? I have so many people now saying option B, option D. And nobody chose A, huh? That was strange. B, C, and D have now taken center stage.
Yeah. Ma'am, can I just add?
Of course, Nishant sir, why not?
Yeah. So the poster is showing that the woman is actually tired and ignoring the household chores, and the man is after a hard day's work, so he is not ready to help her also. So that is why the statement says that man will be forced to stay in filthy houses while their wives ignore household. So you can see in that poster that she's ignoring the stuff purposely, and the man is not ready to help her out. This is what I interpret.
Also, the man can be seen with a grumpy expression.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Nishant sir and Afreen ma'am. Swati ma'am, I heard you unmute in between.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, it was my wrong. The correct answer is answer A, naturally traveling. So, because it was connected to French Revolution, and people didn't want women to vote at that time. It's the reason. First option is the correct one.
Perfect. So ultimately, the history behind the history teacher speaks. It is the A is the correct answer.
Yes, ma'am.
That is the
Ma'am,
French Revolution.
I'm going to pick my daughter, so I'm in trouble.
No issues. No issues. So that's where we are heading to. The correct answer was A. It is a part of the French Revolution. And the poster had a depiction which has been taken as distractors in the options. If you have studied the concept given in the book, which we are trying to test through the poster, your option will be A. See, these are the catchy things. The poster is just to guide you that this is what we are going to be talking about. Now, this particular poster, had we taken in reference to maybe democratic politics by itself, and we would have mentioned about just voting rights in Fiji or in other countries where women were not considered, Saudi Arabia maybe. And had you taken it in context to that, it could probably have made some different sense. But here, this is also in context of French Revolution as a chapter that we are teaching. And in that context, it will be A, where women may become lazy and unmotivated if they vote. This is also where in the French Revolution, women were considered as passive citizens. So connecting the chapter well, congratulations to Swati ma'am and congratulations to all the other brilliant educators who've tried to interpret the poster differently. Brilliant. This also gives you another clue to case-based questions, that though this is an MCQ, it is a free response question as well. And free response questions are really very, very difficult to connect. Look at this. This is a map, which is also used in a case study. So it's a graphical representation of geographical or spatial data designed to present information visually and aid in analysis or interpretation. Now what happens here? You are seeing three maps based only on their spatial arrangement. Which type of settlement is most likely to have the most developed and efficient transport and communication network? So you have to here compare three maps is what I am trying to guide you and give you a hint so that you don't go very far away from my chat. Chat box is open for the fastest fingers first. Hemal ma'am, please don't annotate. Erase your annotations, Hemal ma'am. Okay. So here we have Sajida ma'am saying the second picture is most likely to have the developed and efficient transport and communication network. But Anu ma'am says third. All right. So why do Sajida ma'am and Anu ma'am differ? Let's hear their reasons. Jani ma'am says second.
Ma'am, I feel in the second picture, there are more of households and I can visualize a lot of roads. That is the main reason.
Yes, we can visualize households and roads in the second picture. It is the correct answer. If you see, there is a waterway passing by. So there is a port, which is also going to be a very efficient communication network. You can see a bridge or a highway that is constructed in the second picture. And there is a lot more of transport visible there with the houses. Therefore, the second picture is more possibly or most likely to have communication and transport. The first picture is just one settlement, and then for miles together, there is nothing. And there is hardly any development in the third picture. That is also one reason why the correct answer will obviously be the second picture. So Hemal ma'am, I'm going to take the liberty and delete all your annotations since you have not yet deleted them. They are all over the screen. But yes.
Sorry, ma'am, I was just trying to zoom the picture and by mistake it happened.
Never mind,
But
never
now
mind.
now I'm not trying. I'm trying, but it's not happening, ma'am. Sorry.
Yeah, no issues. I have deleted it. Okay, now look at this. There is a chart. Now, data based on graphs, charts, pie charts, these are very commonly used in social science. So it's a visual representation of data that uses bars, lines, or other symbols to simplify, summarize complex information for easy analysis and interpretation. So this is Human Development Index of India. Mostly, yes. Yeah, it's India only. Between 1990 and 2019. Mention two areas in which India worked to increase HDI by 50.3%. HDI is taught to the students in grade 10 economics chapter 1. So they have a fair idea. Factors leading to HDI are taught in grade 9 economics, so they have an introductory idea. And though the areas are not mentioned here, if you wish to mention in the chat, you are free to mention. I will not question you on that this time. But students who would have a fair idea would be able to answer this kind of a question contextualizing it with the correct chapter in the textbook. Moving forward, there's another one here. This is a data representation of a numerical or factual information requiring interpretation, often using a structured format like tables to organize data for analysis. Now, this is from agriculture, grade 10, where you have crops given on one side. Then you have the yield in tons per hectare without irrigation and the yield in tons per hectare with irrigation. 1 ton is 1,000 kgs, 1 hectare is 10,000 square meters. This has been provided to the students so that they are not confused. Based on this table, the yield of which crop has increased most with irrigation?
Ma'am, I put it in the chat. Wait.
Okay. Yes. I will. Thank you so much, Keshwani ma'am. So, Keshwani ma'am says soya bean has increased with irrigation.
No, ma'am. Wheat.
No. Okay, with irrigation, wheat benefits the most according to Keshwani ma'am. So, I think mathematics teachers would agree and correct me if I'm wrong also, that if you had to find out with irrigation what has increased the most, you take the figure to the right and minus the figure to the left. And in whichever case you get a higher number is what has increased, which Keshwani ma'am may have done. So probably the answer was wheat. Anyone who differs in their answers? It cannot be finger millet because the difference is barely 200, but 900 to 1500 is a visible 700 difference. So wheat is the correct answer. And congratulations to Keshwani ma'am for getting it correct. Good math. Now, when we look at this particular slide, we talk about difference between chart-based and database stimuli. Now, what happens is in terms of definitions, a chart focuses on interpreting information presented in a graphical format, bar graph, line graph, pie chart. And database stimuli focuses on analyzing raw numerical data, whether presented in tables, text, or graphical formats. And the primary focus here in chart-based stimuli is in understanding design, trend, insight derived from visual presentations. And database is engaging the underlying activity or data to identify patterns, perform calculations like we just did just now. We calculated the difference, interpret numerical relationships. So if you're with me in a social science class, you obviously know that in our papers, in grade 9, we ask all those data from Palampur. We ask production of crops in hectares in grade 9. We give literacy rates in grade 9 and 10. You would have seen our papers over the years, over the PAs. You would have seen a lot of these graphs and pie charts and all coming into our papers. This is a very common thing for us. We give average income on so many occasions. Sometimes in the classroom, you would see our economics books when we teach BMI to the students. We get them to perform BMI of 3 family members. So those kind of things are also part of database stimuli. Then nature. How are the two different by nature? Graphical format is central to the task. Like the type of chart impacts how data is perceived. But if you have data, it is like a secondary format. The core task is understanding and working with factual data that is right in front of you. On many occasions, you will see our papers where we give you maybe a crop with its soil and climate and rainfall and temperature, and we put a question mark in one of the columns. This is also another way of asking database. Then skills, visual interpretation, trend analysis, comparison of data sets based on graphical elements. These things come up in the skills that are tested in a chart. But when you come to the data, the tables that we give, manipulation of the data, analyzing numbers, pattern recognition, deeper insights, performing small calculations like the time zones. So when you are in grade 6 and you want the students to do a time zone, you even give that time zone chart and you ask them, this longitude at this place and this longitude at this time. Like most of us remember that question very well. If it is 9 a.m. in Delhi, what would the time be at whatever latitude, at whatever longitude west of Delhi and whatever longitude east of Delhi? All of us remember this question if we attempted on 14th or 15th December. None of us would forget it. And then the presentation format, primarily visual using charts like bar graphs, line graphs, pie charts. And when you're doing database stimuli, they may appear in tabular form, raw text, visual format, chart, graph, as a medium to display data. Both can overlap. The classification depends on the intent of why you are setting it. If the focus is on interpreting visual representation itself, then it is chart-based. If the task emphasizing is analysis, calculation, manipulating underlying data, regardless of the presentation format, it is database stimuli. So I hope this much is clear to you. While we move ahead, so I have this fancy lady standing here in front of you. You have to identify the lady in the image. You have to tell me where would you find this statue and which value does this image represent. So obviously this question I had taken on intent. Anyone wanting to write in the chat? Identify the lady in the image. I wanted to move out of grade 9 and 10 because I did realize that more than grade 9 and 10, everybody would be attending this session. This is not anything outside India. All of this is in India. This is from the Indian knowledge tradition. Anyone trying? Any Indian history experts would like to try? Zainab ma'am and Kumudni ma'am, this is especially for you. So, Pooja Raut ma'am, wonderful replied. Wonderful, congratulations. This is Kannagi. For all of you who did not know, this is that statue that we learn in the story of Silappa Dikaram, earlier in grade 6, now in grade 7 in the new curriculum. The story of Kannagi is very well depicted. Where would you find this statue? The statue is currently in Chennai. Very good.
South.
Yes, very good. Alina ma'am, congratulations. And then Radhika ma'am also tells us it is located in Chennai. Congratulations to her as well. And which value are we trying to judge in this? Which value are we trying to judge through this image? All those of us who remember the story of Silappa Dikaram. Sajida ma'am, brilliant. This is the value of justice. Very, very good. I am so happy you all are able to do it. Congratulations. Brilliant work. Now look at this. What are the sensitivity checks for good case studies? Use language that is inclusive, respectful, and appropriate for public use. Obviously, as social science teachers, we are always conscious and aware that we have to be inclusive in our approach. Even the gender sensitiveness, gender sensitivity, religious biases and linguistic identities are taken care of in our social science books, classes, and papers. Avoid content that is distasteful, scary, or promotes violence. Do not include unscientific views, controversial role models, or harmful behaviors. So if you're taking up you're talking about passing of a bill in parliament, then many a times, if we are not thoughtful, we may end up, we may just end up picking up a passage of a bill currently being passed or being presented in the parliament, because we are so much passionate about our topics and subjects. And we say, oh, this bill is just being introduced and it is in my current topic. Let me question it. Never do that. That is the biggest mistake we make. Why? Because it is not a bill that has passed. It may lead to violence in society. It may harm emotions. It may harm gender, religion, linguistic identities of the students in your classroom. It may be a controversial bill which may or may not pass. It may be biased towards socio-economically advantaged or disadvantaged classes. Therefore, it is inappropriate for public use to pick up such a passage. So whenever you are picking up a passage also, we have to be very, very conscious. And obviously design cases that do not give unfair advantage based on social identity and background. Obviously, as social science teachers, we are well aware of being very, very neutral. Even in class, sometimes when students ask about things that are coming up in current affairs or certain other concepts, we political chats as well. We may answer their questions, but very, very politically neutral perspective that we have to give. Our personal political awareness, consciousness is kept aside. Only then can you answer their questions. Then, like I told you, the fourth typical type of case study being a scenario. It could be a hypothetical or a real life situation that challenges students to apply knowledge, think critically, solve problems by making decisions based on the context provided. So in this case, we have, I have given you some situations here. Like a rural region in India is experiencing high unemployment. Most of the population has historically been employed in agriculture and received training in farming practices. However, the job market has shifted towards occupations requiring different skills. So many people lack the qualification to fill available positions. That's scenario one. Obviously, we know this is touching upon unemployment. It is touching upon skill education. And skill education, Skill India is very much an burning hot topic. Another scenario we talk about, consider a scenario where a global travel and tourism increases, leading to significant growth in a country's airline and hotel industry. Now, this I had read in the news just about 2 days ago. This surge in demand further leads to increased investments in aircraft manufacturing and hotel construction, fueling advancements in aerospace engineering and sustainable building practices. Now, look at the kind of questions you can think about in each of these scenarios. And the third thing they say is during COVID, a rural health center is struggling to meet the demand for vaccines due to logistical challenges. All three scenarios are in front of you and the chat box is open in front of me. Considering scenario 1, okay, which are the concepts you think which would connect across classes, whichever class you teach, and whichever concept you think is going to connect to any of to the first scenario. Let me see.
Unemployment.
Unemployment, very good. Unemployment and skill education are two things I told you in the first scenario. But which other topics do you think you could cover in it?
Agriculture.
Agriculture. If you happen to be teaching geography in grade 8 or 10, particularly in grade 10, I'm the only teacher there, so I will tell you that agriculture here connects to Kisan colleges and those Kisan helplines, call centers. Then this also connects to job market, shifting occupations. People leave agricultural farms and they go to find jobs in different sectors, particularly in the private and public sectors. Kumudni ma'am says this is leading to disguised unemployment. Very good. People lack qualifications to fill available positions as well. Brilliant. Then you can consider scenario 2. This is a travel and tourism increase due to air and hotel industries, airlines and hotel industries. Which are the concepts we are planning to cover in this second scenario?
Demand and supply in economics.
Demand and supply, senior secondary, why not?
All right, okay.
Brilliant, brilliant. Of course, we are having senior secondary teachers with us. Brilliant. And what about others? Yes, somebody was saying something.
Investment.
Investment. Investment in economics. Deforestation. Kumudni ma'am, where are the forests? You mean cutting trees to make hotels? Good idea.
Tourism, market.
Tourism. Pooja Raut ma'am says economic growth and development. All right. Tourism, yes, Zainab ma'am, it is tourism. Did we not see the word industries, manufacturing? Did we not see secondary sector activities coming up? Did we not see industries coming up? Manufacturing industries is one very important chapter in grade 8 and 10. Employment opportunities. There is something called favorable balance of trade in grade 10, which could also be visible here. Somebody was saying something. Sorry, I missed the person. Who had just unmuted? Dipande ma'am says प्रकृति के साथ छेड़छाड़ कर रहा है मानव अपनी आवश्यकताओं की पूर्ति हेतु. Thank you, Pandey ma'am. That's brilliant. So if you see, this could also be an interdisciplinary case study where you can connect languages to talk about or make a poster or make an advertisement, as well as in social sciences, where you are talking about development, manufacturing. You're talking about engineering and sustainable building practices, which would again be a part of scientific technology. You're talking about travel, tourism, balance of trade. demand and supply, everything is coming here. And what about the third one? Pandemic, rural healthcare. This would come under
Health
public
industry.
facilities. Yes, this would come under public facilities provided by the government, where it's the job of the government to provide facilities like medical facilities to the people of the country as a part of their welfare activities. And particularly in rural areas where not many doctors and private hospitals are found, the government provides health facilities. Yes, Vrushali ma'am, very good. It says, she particularly says, inadequate social infrastructure to meet the demand. Perfect. So these kind of scenarios could be created. You could frame all kinds of questions across disciplines using these scenarios. You could even make an interdisciplinary question using scenarios. Then what makes a good question? So we have competency-based questions. So this particular image 1 and 2 is going to be checking on competencies, which are the ability to accurately define representative democracy. The scale of the map allows you to understand the level of detail you are viewing. In general, a map shows a smaller geographic area with more detailed features and has a large scale. A map that shows a bigger geographic area with few details has a small scale. Which of these maps has a bigger scale? Image 1, 2, both, or impossible to determine? So you need to first know what is a scale of a map. So this is grade 6 geography, where you are taught scale of a map. Grade 7 geography is where you are doing this in detail. Okay, I think somebody was unmuted again. Please, sorry, please tell me what you were trying to say. Kishwani ma'am, I love that honest answer. Somebody who had
Image 1.
Image 1.
Image 1 is
image 1
because
has a scale. Okay, why?
We talk about the information, na? The information is more on a this map compared to the image 2.
Yes, there is less information shown in image 2. Wonderful. So Radhika ma'am also says image 1. And when you talk about scale, it is image 1. The question should be interesting and stimulating while testing an important concept or a skill. Congratulations to all those who are still trying. Keep it up. And those who haven't tried today, I'm very disappointed that you are not interacting in my class. We still have some time. Make up. Now, where will we find good case studies? I just told you earlier, you should not take directly from the textbook. So where will you create? You need to find case studies from credible publications authored by experts. This does not mean that we pick up any guidebook or reference book and copy paste something. That is the most unethical practice. Use a mix of Indian and international sources so that we ensure diversity. Cite the original source and follow citation guidelines. Like I have shown you in the previous sources, I have already told you where I have picked up the source from. Establish agreements with publishers for easy access to content. This does not mean that we establish agreements with private publishers, but there are authenticated government websites. There are authenticated PTI, PIB, there are ministries, there are official government websites, there is UNESCO, there is UNSC, UNDP, WHO. So social science case studies can be authentically taken from there. Submit content from unauthorized sources for approval on a case-by-case basis. Check for copyright. Use the Creative Commons, which are freely licensed content wherever possible. And in case the material is copyrighted and you want to use it, obtain necessary permissions. And prioritize quality over case. What is more important? The quality of the case is very much important than just any random story. So I'm now going to give you, I had originally planned 5 minutes, but it's going to be less than 5 minutes in this case. You will find one case study that meets the guidelines. You know how to look for a case study. In less than 5 minutes, you will find one case study which meets the guidelines that we have studied. And you will give me just 1 or 2 lines of explanation about why it is a good case study, which subject does it match with, and which concept does it cover. I'll give you less than 5 minutes for it. Your time starts now. Are we done? I can see questions in the chat. Let's see. What's up? Okay, Jenny ma'am has given me a link to go to. Okay, let us stop sharing screen and check Jenny ma'am's link. Allow me to share that, please. Jenny ma'am, this is what I received.
Ma'am, this is a book. This is a public source. It's a public domain, so there is no permission issue here. It is a Garden Park project. So I would take one extract out of this, the one that matches my criteria, and I would use that. It's an entire book, so I didn't have time to cut copy paste.
Yes, obviously. Thank you so much, Jenny ma'am. Brilliant effort put in here. Yes, anyone else who wants to share a case study? I can give you some sharing right if you are interested in sharing or if you wish to speak about a case that you checked on. No one? You have to tell me which concept and which subject your case covers. Anyone who's set and ready? Okay, I see something in the chat. Okay, this is by Insia ma'am. Ethics case study. The problem of a Japanese company, the solution. All right, very nice. The outcome. So, which concepts is Insia ma'am trying to cover by this case study? And which subject are you covering through this case study, Insia ma'am? Would you like to unmute Insia ma'am? While Insia ma'am comes back to us, Kumudni ma'am has mentioned why is it important to preserve cultural heritage around the world? Is that a question to me or is that a part of some case study? Okay, Insia ma'am will type in, but Kumudni ma'am, is that a message to me? Is that a question to me, Kumudni ma'am, or is it a part of the case study we're reading? Okay, Kumudni ma'am has somewhere read a case study, which she has not yet shared with us, but she feels that the case study that she is currently reading talks about preservation of cultural heritage in the world. Why is it important? So she has found something interesting as a case study. Wonderful, Kumudni ma'am. Intia ma'am will tell us shortly what that case study, which concepts were covered in that case study. Moving on, just a quick recap. What is a good case study? It should be clear, structured, authentic, engaging, should align with educational objectives. It should foster critical thinking. Characteristics, again, clear, age-appropriate language, free from bias and insensitivity, engaging, relatable, grounded in real-world context, original and diverse, not taken from the textbook. Where would you source them? From credible, expert-authored publications. Diversify sources from mixed and foreign and Indian content. Follow proper citation and copyright guidelines. And take a sensitivity check. Avoid discriminatory language, bias, and inappropriate content. Ensure that the content does not promote violence and harmful behavior. Now, even when we are framing questions, we need to follow certain key principles for framing good questions. So when you're framing a question, there are 6 main features that we need to look at. Test a skill or a concept that is meaningful and worth understanding. Accurately assess the intended learning objective. Be free from errors and use age-appropriate language. Make it interesting, engaging, and stimulate critical thinking. Use clear, concise, and age-appropriate language. State the expectations clearly without any ambiguity. So don't think we only preach and we don't practice. Though I will keep showing you more and more examples, towards the end, I will show you that we actually practice what we preach. Now, this is again a common feature of European empires. This is about the British colonial rule. The source is given to you. The questions are there. 2 MCQs have been provided for this case study. Key principles for crafting good questions. Test the understanding or application of a concept in unfamiliar context. If you have to give the same familiar context of the textbook, then you are not testing understanding. When you change the concept, you are checking application. Provide meaningful feedback on what the learner has understood or missed. The moment you give something different and a student thinks and writes, your task, your target, your learning outcome is achieved. The case appears simple when the concept is well understood. Key principles for crafting case-based studies, just a quick recap of the same. Stimulus-based items should be test-specific skills like data interpretation, critical thinking, analysis. All questions must be answerable using information provided in the stimulus. Items must connect to the stimulus content and not test unrelated knowledge. Questions should be engaging and meaningful, helping students to relate theoretical concepts to real-world scenarios. Ensure that items are fully grounded in the stimulus and do not introduce unrelated content. So whichever concept you are testing, make sure that 1 or 2 concepts are tested through a case study. And there are more examples. This is a map. Okay. This is a very, very famous map of the world. And you can see that it is upturned. This is MacArthur's map. And this is very famous because MacArthur was one gentleman. He was a very famous cartographer. And he was the one who had placed the southern hemisphere on the top. So here, your ability to interpret, analyze key elements of a map, scale, symbol, and directions. Now, when you ask a student, which is the north, most students would turn around to say, north is down in North America, which is now showing facing the south. But in MacArthur's view, north was up and Australia was in the north. It is we who have considered, somebody who drew the map the way we perceive it today, fixed it to be north there and south down. That is why some places called North and South America, some places called North and South Africa. We are Southeast Asia. Somebody who fixed it that way. And while creating the map, the cartographer corrected the map, which makes this map different from others. There are compass points, etc. This question I have shown you earlier. There are many more questions. This is the Chinese lunar rover making tracks on the far side of the moon. And when this was given to students by an agency for SAFL assessment, you can see in grades 7 and 9, See the difference in getting the correct answer. Across boards, across states. This is another map here we see of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. This is the senior secondary grade 11 history map, where you can see Iraq, Babylonia, Assyria, etc. You see the Mesopotamian civilization. So which one of the cities would have benefited the most from these two rivers? Correct answer being Babylon, because it's exactly on the banks of these two rivers. Then shrinking agriculture is another article that we find, and we can post questions on these kind of articles. You can find these articles and post questions. This is another political science case study, which is very essential when we do elections. So across classes, it is a very essential case study. Then here you have the graph on per capita income and net availability of food, food security. Then you have voting rights in political science. Then there was this circular, every year the CBSE gives us this circular on what percentage of questions will be competency based. And you can see competency based questions and source based questions or any other type of competency focused questions will be 50% in the academic year 24-25 in the secondary and senior secondary level. And now the new books have taken the competency based questions right from grade 6. So when you see these particular questions in source-based questions, you know that you have to make them higher order. Don't worry about what people ask you. You have a CBSE circular to back you if you are correct in framing the right kind of questions. Now, these cannot be surprise elements for students in an exam hall. You have to train them in the class to attempt these kind of questions. They should encourage deep analysis, frame questions that require students to infer, evaluate, connect concepts to the stimuli, focus on open-ended free responses with varied valid interpretations. So like we see at the CBSE level and any other relevant point, the scope for open-ended questions. Provide clear expectations, specify what the response should include, provide examples, test higher order skills, and balance the scope, keep the question focused, ensuring that it can be answered within the given time and within the given marks. There's another one here on the Black Sunday. It is from a news article. And this is with reference to the Rowlatt Act or the Black Act. And why is it called the Black Act as shown in the news article? And the evaluation criterion or the rubric is given 1 point for every correct answer. That is what we just saw in the previous slide. Then you would normally see these kind of questions in our paper. I may just take a moment more, not more than that. So don't worry about leaving this. But in geography, you would normally see these kind of things in the higher classes. This is something that we have practiced last year in 2024-25 academic year in the PF4 paper of grade 9. So this is Nazism and the rise of Hitler. This is what we had given in the paper, the image. We had shown the source and there were questions based on the source, which again I have picked up from the paper. You can read the thing. The maximum that the students could have picked up from here was the name of the 3 kinds of police that is asked. Besides that, they had to only refer in mind to the concepts taught in class and answer the remaining questions. That is why this was a very efficient source for us. This was also asked last year in the grade 9 PA4 paper 24-25. This is about migration. Internal and international migration is what we teach them. And we gave them this kind of a flow chart and we expected them to answer the questions given below based on that figure. So it invited a lot of thought from the students. It invited a lot of free response questions and a lot of conceptual knowledge, which is actually tried to be inculcated in them, was visible when they tried to answer these. And we could know the gaps that we were trying to plug. So this was a very useful thing to us, though we had put it on trial in grade 9 PA4. But we were happy we tried this and many other things in that paper. So thank you to my colleagues who agreed to let us experiment on this paper, and to the academic supervisor and the principal of Gopi Birla Memorial School, who agreed and let us experiment and try and realize that we could plug in a lot of knowledge gaps. So once again, before we end and before I share the attendance link with all of you, let me take this moment to thank Dr. Mrs. Veena Srivastava, our campus head, and our principal, Mrs. Madhu Vatke, for allowing me to take this session, inviting me over to take this session and enlighten not only the Department of Social Sciences, for whom this is a subject-specific training, but also all the other educators who've joined us from Gopi Birla Memorial School this evening to understand how case study questions of a competency level are framed. And thank you very much to all the participating educators. You've done a brilliant job with all that you have been writing in the chat. I leave the floor open to questions, comment, and feedback while I share the attendance link. And request our principal, ma'am, if she's still around with us. I had seen her some time back, but if she's still around with us, then I request her to begin with sharing her feedback. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Keshwani, ma'am. And your attendance link is now shared. Yes, Insia ma'am, I did read that chat that you had shared after the passage. A brilliant piece of work, Insia ma'am. Congratulations to you. You spoke about cultural sensitivity, diverse leadership, and strategic management. Thank you so much, Insia ma'am, for that wonderful effort at your end. Any educator who would like to unmute and speak also, please feel free. The session is all yours now.
Thank you, Khyati ma'am, for a really insightful and resourceful session. It was really wonderful to see the different kind of questions we had. And when you put it in the paper last year, we had a conversation about it. But seeing it here today, it's really splendid to see so many other options. Thank you for sharing it with us.
My pleasure.
Khyati ma'am, I don't think the attendance list is there in the chat.
It is in the chat. Sorry, it is going to a direct message. Sorry. It's been shared multiple times, but somebody had been chatting with me in person here instead of a group chat. Sorry, it's gone multiple times, but it's gone in the personal chat. So sorry about that.
Thank you so much, Khyati ma'am.
My pleasure.
It was really interesting. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosina ma'am.
Thank you, Khyati ma'am.
Thank you, Swati ma'am.
It was a brilliant session.
We have another training coming up next week in social science. Educators who wish to attend are welcome. Educators who were bored today are also welcome to mention that they were bored and were disinterested. Otherwise, I do see a lot of feedback. The chat is pouring in with responses. Don't forget to fill the attendance if you are looking for a
Thank you, ma'am.
certification. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Anyone looking forward to a certification must fill the feedback link.
Thank you, Khyati ma'am.
Thank you, Kashmira ma'am. Anyone who'd still be wishing to speak something? I hope everyone's copied the feedback link. Requesting Madhu ma'am to please share her invaluable feedback while she's still with us. I think she's discontinued the session. No problem. Anyone else who wishes to speak? Shall we end the session?
Khyati ma'am,
Yes,
on
ma'am.
behalf of all the participants, I would like to congratulate you for such a brilliant session. Keep it up. We enjoyed each minute of it, not just me. I'm sure everybody else also enjoyed. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Nishant sir. So shall we end the session if everyone's taken the attendance link? Yeah, I need to keep track of how many have filled it as well. Madhu ma'am has sent her feedback on personal chat. Thank you very much, Madhu ma'am, for that wonderful feedback. I am indeed humbled and honored to receive that from you. And with this, we shall be officially ending today's session. Please make sure that you have filled in the attendance form if you are looking for a certification. You need to pass to get 60% scores. Thank you once again, everybody. Goodbye. God bless. Have a happy long weekend.